Okay, so get this. A fence that not only keeps elephants away from crops, but also makes, like, delicious honey. It's
Mm.
pretty wild, right?
Okay.
That's the idea behind beehive fences, and
Yeah.
you wanted to know if they actually work. So we're going to dive into a 9-year study
Wow, 9 years.
from Kenya, yeah, to see how effective they really
That's
are.
from Kenya.
Yeah, based on some on-the-ground data you shared with us.
Yeah, what's so cool about this study is it wasn't just, some small little experiment. They did it near Tsavo East National Park,
Okay.
which is in Kenya. And it's a place where you have a growing human population, and
Yeah.
they're bumping up against Kenya's biggest elephant population.
Right. Like a real hot spot for that human-elephant conflict.
Yeah.
So before we get into the beehive fences themselves, can you kind of set the scene for us? Like, what challenges were these farmers facing?
Yeah, so we're talking about subsistence farmers who are growing like essential crops, maize, beans, watermelon, pumpkins, things they need. And they've been trying all sorts of things to keep elephants out,
Yep,
like
yeah.
thorn fences. But elephants, they're pretty smart.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading somewhere that elephants actually figure out how to get around those chili-infused bush fences
Oh, yeah.
by walking backward.
Exactly. They're smart. They adapt.
Right.
And that's what makes this beehive fence study so interesting. It's like, okay, maybe we have a solution here
Yeah.
that's not only effective, but also sustainable.
Okay, so now I'm really curious. How do these beehive fences actually work?
So they basically take advantage of something elephants are naturally afraid of,
Okay.
bees.
Makes sense.
You literally have live beehives strung along a fence line.
Oh, wow.
So it creates this living barrier. The elephants, they hear the buzzing, they smell the honey, and
Yeah.
they're like, nope, not going there.
It's not just a physical barrier, then. It's
Yeah.
like psychological, too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you were curious about how well this works in practice.
Yeah. Well, this 9-year study tracked almost 4,000 elephant interactions across 26 farms.
Wow.
And they even had some control plots, without the beehive fences so they
Oh.
could compare.
To make sure it's actually working.
Exactly. Makes the findings much more convincing.
That's a seriously robust study, then. So, spill the beans.
Yeah.
How effective were the beehive fences?
The results are pretty impressive. On average, beehive fences kept elephants away a whopping 76% of the time annually.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And during those peak crop seasons, when the farms are most vulnerable,
Yeah.
it jumps to 86%.
Wow, that's a huge deterrent, especially when they need it most.
Yeah.
Did they mention any, like, specific cases that demonstrate this? I always love those little details.
Oh, absolutely. One farmer reported a mind-boggling 100 elephants trying to get through a fence in one night.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, they couldn't fully verify this because it rained and washed away the evidence.
Oh, right.
But it gives you a sense of the scale.
Yeah, 100 elephants. That's intense.
It is.
Even with the beehives, it sounds like some elephants were still kind of, like, testing their luck.
Yeah.
Did the study mention what happened when the elephants did get through? Did they totally decimate the crops?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
But the study mostly focused on whether the fences prevented elephants from getting in,
Oh, yeah.
not necessarily what happened once they were inside.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess, like, any elephant in your farm is bad, regardless of how much they actually eat. But, okay, let's not forget about the other side of this, the beehives.
Yeah.
You mentioned honey. How much honey are we talking about here?
So the beehive fences produced a remarkable amount of honey
Okay.
over those 9 years.
Yeah,
They yielded a full ton of honey,
a ton.
which the farmers could then sell for like $2,250.
Oh, wow.
That income is a key part of why this approach is so sustainable.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's a catch.
Oh.
You mentioned concerns about climate change,
Right.
and that actually ties into a challenge that came up in this study.
Oh, no, that doesn't sound good. What happened?
Well, a severe drought hit during the study,
Correct.
and it had a major impact on the bees. Hive occupancy plummeted from 60% all the way down to just 7.7% in a single year.
That's a massive drop.
Yeah.
Did the fences just become useless during the drought, or was there still some effect even with fewer bees?
That's an important point. They still offered some protection, but the effectiveness definitely went down.
Yeah.
And of course, honey production took a hit too, dropped by 75%.
Oh, wow.
This impacted both the farmers' income and, how well the fences deterred the elephants.
So it sounds like while the study shows beehive fences have, like, amazing potential factors like climate change and droughts could be a real problem for their long-term success.
Right.
It kind of raises the question, how can we make these fences more resilient to these challenges?
Yeah, and that's the kind of thinking we need. The researchers highlighted a few things that could help, like, providing extra food or water for the bees during a drought,
Right.
or even like temporarily relocating hives to areas with better conditions.
Oh, like sending the bees on vacation.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
key is keeping those bee colonies strong and healthy.
To keep those fences buzzing and the elephants away.
Exactly.
Now, you were also interested in the economic benefits of all this, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know more about the honey production
Yeah.
and how it contributes to making this whole thing sustainable.
Let's definitely dig into that next. It's a fascinating part of this whole story.
Okay, awesome. So we've seen that these beehive fences can be pretty effective,
Yeah.
but you also wanted to know about the money side of things, like
Right.
how does the honey production actually work, and how much can farmers really earn from this?
The honey production is like a brilliant bonus to
Yeah.
this whole thing. Not only do the bees keep the elephants away, but they also pollinate the crops, which helps the yields. And then the honey they make, well, that's valuable stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
In this study, farmers could sell their honey for a decent price.
Okay.
Adds a nice little stream of income.
That's incredible. It's like win-win-win, right? Protect the crops, help the bees, make some extra cash.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal.
Literally. But you mentioned a catch earlier.
Yeah, right. The drought, showed us a potential weak spot.
Mm-hmm.
When the bee populations went down, so did honey production.
Yeah, of course.
It really highlights how important it is to make sure those bee colonies are strong.
Okay, so what are some things that farmers could do to, like, adapt to challenges like that drought and make sure the bees are doing okay?
There are a few smart strategies they're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Providing extra food and water for the bees when things get tough.
Okay.
That's one option. Another is temporarily moving the hives
Right.
to areas with better conditions. Like you said, a bee vacation.
I love that, a bee vacation. But what about those elephants that still got through the fences? Did this study talk about, like, why some elephants were braver than others?
So they found that the number of elephants breaking through actually varied from year to year.
Oh, interesting.
It ranged from a low of 13%
Okay.
to a high of almost 39%.
Wow, that's quite a jump. What explains that?
Well, the drought was definitely a factor, like we talked about.
Weaker bees, weaker defenses.
Exactly. But they also saw that some years you'd have bigger groups of elephants trying to get to the farms,
Oh, okay.
maybe pushed by, human activity outside the park.
Yeah, that makes sense.
More elephants, well, more likely at least one will risk a sting.
For a tasty snack.
Exactly. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, for sure. But even with those ups and downs, the success rate overall is really good.
It is.
I'm curious, did the study mention any other ways to make the fences even better, more effective?
They did. They found that even small changes can help.
Okay.
For instance, some fences had gaps in new houses.
Right, to keep the bees away from people.
Yeah, you don't want to run into a beehive in the morning.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Oh.
But I bet those gaps were easy for elephants to get through, right?
Exactly. They were like a weak spot.
Yeah.
So they came up with this low-tech solution: tin cans and stones, noisemakers.
Okay, that sounds kind of cool.
So picture this: tin cans strung on wire with stones inside.
Mm-hmm.
Elephant tries to push through. The stones rattle like crazy. Scares the elephant or alerts the farmer.
That's pretty clever.
Simple but effective.
It seems like a lot of this is about, like, really paying attention, working with what you've got, and changing things as you go.
Absolutely. The researchers worked directly with the farmers.
Oh, cool.
Learned from them, tweak things along the way.
That's awesome.
That kind of teamwork is key.
Yeah, that's a great example of how, like, science and local knowledge can come together
Yeah.
to solve real problems.
Yeah.
It's important to remember, though, that this study, even with its success, it had some limitations, right?
Right. They didn't actually measure crop damage.
Oh.
They just looked at whether the fence was breached.
Right.
Kind of assumes any elephant in the farm is bad.
Yeah.
Which, might not always be true.
Good point. And it's important to remember that the study said beehive fences, while promising, they're not like a magic bullet. It's just one part of a bigger solution.
It is. Like, a multifaceted approach to this human-elephant conflict might include olfactory repellents, things that smell bad to elephants.
Right.
maybe planting crops elephants don't like,
Okay.
or even community warning systems.
So it's about having options, choosing the right ones,
Exactly.
and ultimately getting to the root of the conflict.
Which often comes down to habitat loss,
Yeah,
human encroachment.
that's the big one.
Yeah.
This brings us back to your original question about humans and elephants living together.
Mm-hmm.
This study shows beehive fences can help with that,
They can.
but it's got to be part of a bigger plan.
It's not just about protecting crops. It's about finding ways for humans and elephants to both thrive
Yeah.
in a world where both are under pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a reminder that we need to keep innovating, keep working together
Yeah.
to find solutions that work for everyone.
Now, you mentioned something earlier about a saturation point for bee populations.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more? Why is that something to worry about?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
The study did touch on this a little. What if beehive fences become super popular?
Okay.
Could we end up with too many bees,
Yeah.
all competing for the same resources?
So too much of a good thing could actually backfire.
Yeah, it's about balance, you know?
Yeah.
We need more research to figure out how many honeybees different areas can handle
Right.
and how to manage beehive fences responsibly. We've
Yeah.
got to be humble about this
Yeah.
and willing to learn and change as we go.
I think that's a perfect way to transition to our final thoughts for you, our listener.
Okay.
This deep dive explored this amazing world of beehive fences. It is fascinating.
But we want to leave you with something to think about.
Yeah.
What are the long-term effects of all this? Could it create new problems?
Like what?
Like maybe more competition between honeybees and native pollinators? Or maybe make honeybees more likely to get sick?
Those are good questions.
These are things to consider as we figure out how humans and wildlife can live together.
That's a great point to end on. This is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And your curiosity, your questions, those are so important to finding solutions for the future.
Yeah, it makes you think, we've seen how beehive fences can help honeybees. But
Yeah.
could there be, a downside?
It's something to consider, right?
Sure.
Could using beehive fences everywhere lead to more competition between honeybees and those native pollinators we talked about?
Right.
Or could it, maybe make the honeybees more susceptible to certain diseases?
That's true. It reminds us that there's always this balance.
Yeah.
When we try to find solutions that are good for everyone, humans and the environment, for sure. We need to be aware of those unintended consequences and be ready to adapt as we learn more.
You've given our listener a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Before we go, is there one, key takeaway you want to leave them with?
For me, it's just the incredible resilience of nature and of humans.
Yeah.
This study showed that even with things like drought, beehive fences can be a powerful tool.
For humans and elephants living together, yeah.
Exactly.
And they also show how cool it is to combine scientific knowledge with what people on the ground already know.
Absolutely, that local expertise.
Yeah. It's inspiring to see how collaboration, innovation leads to these creative solutions.
It gives me hope that we can find ways to live in harmony with nature.
Yeah.
While also taking care of our needs.
It's been awesome, this deep dive into the world of beehive fences. We've covered the science, the economics, even the potential problems with this approach.
It's been fun.
And we've learned that it's not a simple solution. It's about understanding each situation.
Yeah.
Adapting our strategies, and always learning.
Always.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. And remember, listener, the conversation doesn't stop here. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep searching for those solutions.
That create a better future for everyone.
For humans and all the amazing creatures we share this planet with.
Well said. Until next time.